Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman from Cranbury Fields Flower Farm, and today I want to welcome you, and I'm going to show you some great propagating techniques for your hydrangea. So I showed you some propagating techniques last week. I'm going to kind of adjust my camera a little bit more over here as we're kind of diving right in. But last week I showed you some great propagating tips, and I want to give you even more because the great part about our Flower Tribe is that a lot of times you guys will watch a video and then you'll contribute even more tips that worked for you. So you guys gave you some really great suggestions that I'd like to share with the rest of you. So if we haven't met yet, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranbury Fields Flower Farm in Cranbury, New Jersey, and I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell notification. So today I'm going to tell you how to propagate your hydrangeas to get tons of more plants from your existing plants. And I'm going to start off by showing you the water method. So we didn't cover that one last week. So we're going to hit the water method right now. And then we're going to wind up doing like a homemade greenhouse method that basically just uses like a little like Coke bottle, plastic, super easy. You know, you probably have it lying around the house so you can get one. And we're also going to use just like a plastic bin to make our own greenhouses. And it's going to be super easy. And it's so fun to propagate hydrangeas because I almost feel like they really want to propagate. They want to give you more flowers from the ones that you already have. And it's really easy to do. So let's dive right in. So I'm going to start off with the water method. So these are just some hydrangeas that I cut from my garden, like that, you know, like that. I guess yesterday I actually put them in water. You can do this the same day. It's probably the best to try to propagate your plants using these methods the same day. But if you can't get to them and you want to give like your hydrangea like a little bit of a pruning, but yet you don't want to throw out all those clippings, you could wind up just putting them in water and then putting them in the refrigerator overnight. And then you can do like your propagating the next day. So that's kind of like what happened with me. So here we go. So I have one of my stems here. This out. Some big chunkers here. I want to show you a whole bunch of different. Let me see how to get this guy up here. Whoop, bear with me here, folks. I have a lot crammed in here, so it's probably a really good idea not to cram them in so much like I did. And to make matters even worse, I have them in this little gijamagoo that, let's see. This is the best. This is why you should cut smaller cuttings here. Okay, I'm actually cutting off some of these leaf nodes here. Okay, wow, that was like a real effort there. So here's the story, guys. So this is one of my cuttings that I chose yesterday, and it's a good idea to cut them, if you can, in early spring. This will work in fall. It's July right now, so you can do this at any time of the year. The best time to do it, though, is spring. But you can also do it in summer, and you could also do it in fall. So right now, I'm going to take this little cutting that I had from yesterday, and I'm going to go just beneath like this little leaf node here. See like where these guys are coming out over here? So that's a leaf node, and there are tons of growth hormones in here. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a snip just beneath there on a diagonal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove a lot of these leaves here. I don't want to have all these leaves on here. Got a little clip there. There's a clip here. Actually, going to hold this guy here. And I'm basically just going to put this in some water. Super easy. And that's it. Now, after a couple weeks, this gal should start to form some roots on the bottom. Now, the only problem with this method is I know a lot of people have a hard time taking rootings from water. So it's not always the easiest method. Sometimes you wind up having like some callousing on the bottom of the stem. And I think that usually happens when you're working with something that's more of like a wooded stem. So if you can get more of like a fresher, greener stem that doesn't have, you know, like a flower on it, it might root easier in water. But then after a couple weeks, you're going to start seeing some, you know, beautiful roots coming from the bottom, and then you could transplant it. But the thing is, guys, when you put this in the ground, after it's like this really like delicate rooted stem, you're going to want to make sure that you don't have it in like bright blazing sunshine because it's a very delicate plant. And you're also going to want to make sure that you keep it like moist. You want to make sure that it's not like soaked. You don't want to waterlog it, but you want to make sure that that new stem doesn't dry out. And that's kind of like what happened to me last week. So I showed you guys how to do some cuttings, and I actually put them in soil. We did the method where we use like rooting hormone, which I'm going to show you right now real quick one more time. And all of them dried out on me because I didn't keep up with the watering. So I'm going to show you a quick fix to that problem. We're going to make our own greenhouses now. So the first method is just, basically you put it in water, you wait, it takes a while. So you have to be patient. It may take a few weeks, but eventually you're going to start seeing some of those roots coming out. And guys, if you're doing any of these methods at your house, or you have them going on now, please post pictures of your progress over on our Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because it's a great place for gardeners from all over the world to meet up and swap tips and show us what's going on in your garden. And it's a great place for us to teach each other these great tips that we all know. It's a terrific place to share. So let me know if anybody's doing this now and if you have any success with this, and let me know if your roots start to take place. So here's what happened last week. I showed you how to do a cutting. I'm actually afraid to go after this jar again after what just happened. It's like the jar of death over here. What is going on? Okay, let me try to gently remove this guy. I've got some netting in this pot. So the netting is kind of causing me. I wanted to show you all these neat, these little nodes, and I actually ripped some of them off just now, but this guy's okay. So I've got this guy with a flower head. Now, your best bet is to choose a stem that doesn't have a flower head. But in July, I have to say most of my hydrangeas are blooming, and most of them have flower heads. So let's see. Oh, I love that you guys are checking in and letting me know where you're from. Hey, Anne, you're from Newfoundland, Canada. Oh, nice to see you. And Rosie, yes, you can add. Oh, this is interesting. I love this. So Rosie just told us that you can add honey to the water, and it will act as like a rooting growth hormone. And that's really interesting because I have honey here, and I wanted to show you how to use it on like this next step that we're doing, but I never heard that tip before. So Rosie, bless you, I'm going to do that. How much do you add, Rosie? Like a little bit? I'm assuming not too much. And do I do it to the stem? I'm going to wait for you to reply before I do this next step. So Rosie says you can add honey to the water. Okay, which makes me think that we just add it to the water. I'm actually thinking, why not do this? Tell me what you guys think. Why not add honey like directly to the stem? I actually have honey here. Hold on. I've got honey on this little plate, and I have cinnamon too. Now, cinnamon is also a great rooting hormone, but I don't know. Let's try this out. This is like the first time I'm doing this with you guys, and I'll keep you posted what happens, but I love these tips. So Rosie says a very small amount. I'm going to add the honey that I have on this plate to the stem. So I just put a little bit there. I don't know. What do you think, Rosie? Is that the way to go, or should I just take your advice and put it in the water? All right, it's done. Anyway, small amount. Okay, so we did that. I added some honey. And I'm curious what would happen if we did this trick and we added some cinnamon to the bottom of the stem, because that usually acts as a rooting hormone also, and it should help those roots come out a little bit faster. So let's see. I've tried. So Leisha says, I've tried doing that way, and it never worked, at least not hydrangeas. So I dig out the whole plant and chop it up. That works for me. Oh, that's cool. I saw that before. Someone else I saw was doing that. That's what I will be doing in spring. Okay. So what Leisha's talking about, and this is a great comment. I love that. I'm sorry to get sidetracked, which I do sometimes. I'm going to put this guy in water. I don't want him to dry out. So the water method I keep seeing is very difficult to do, but people do have some success. I've seen, these beautiful roots in people's glasses in water. But the method that Leisha's talking about is if you wait until either like fall or early spring, you can dig up your established hydrangea plants. And you can kind of like dig into them and divide them just like you would divide like a regular shrub. So you want to make sure you don't do it when the plant's blooming. You want to make sure you don't do it when it's super hot out. You want to kind of do it when that plant is, either going into like that dormant stage. And if you do it in fall, make sure that you divide your hydrangea at least 6 weeks before that first frost. Because if you divide your hydrangea or any plant right before it freezes, those roots don't have enough time to kind of, like get started. So if you're going to do the dividing method, you're going to dig it up in either like late winter, early spring, right before it starts to get the new growth, or, maybe 6 to 8 weeks before your estimated, time that you're going to have that freeze. And you can kind of dig it up, divide it, and then just move it to another place and make sure that it's, a place where it's going to be happy. Make sure you know what kind of hydrangea you have and that the soil is amended. You have some nice water going on, some good drainage in that soil, because hydrangeas love to have well-drained soil. And then you pop it in the ground. And then you just make sure that you keep up with the watering. Make sure you don't flood it, but make sure those roots don't dry out. One of the most important things to do as you're propagating your hydrangeas is to make sure that those roots stay hydrated. You don't want to flood them, but they can't dry out. Otherwise, you're going to lose the whole thing, which is what happened to all my plants last week. So, okay, let's get back to where I started before. But those are two great tips. So thank you, guys. That's why I love the Flower Tribe. I love that you guys are always, commenting and offering all your advice. It's just amazing. So, all right, here's the story with this guy. So like I said, it's kind of like, everything's in bloom. And so I had to choose a flower that had a bloom on. Ultimately, it would have been a good idea not to. So I'm going to actually cut off the flower head, because you don't want the plant to have to support all the weight of that flower head right now. And I'm going to come down on the stem, and I actually had 2 healthy nodes just a few minutes ago. But I kind of chopped one of those off when I was getting it out of that funky little jar. So I don't know. Right now I have the choice to either come down to this set of nodes. This is like a really healthy set of nodes. This is what this guy did look like a few minutes ago. But I have to say, at this point, I want to make sure that I'm working with this leaf, because this leaf is what's going to help, to give some photosynthesis to the plant, to help to feed it. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to get rid of these guys here. I'm going to cut this leaf in half, because I don't want to have that big of a leaf. You don't need to have a big giant leaf going on there. And I think I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to cut it down to here, to this first leaf node here, because there is actually a little piece of this guy left here. Okay, so this is what we did last week, guys. So we went out and we, cut some of these from our gardens. I'm going to trim this guy a little bit more. And we did some rooting hormone or some cinnamon or some honey to kind of get it started. I'm going to dip it in a little bit of water first, though, just to kind of keep it going. Put in some cinnamon. You can also, like I said, buy this, if you want, you can buy the store-bought rooting hormone. And if you don't have rooting hormone or cinnamon, and if you don't have honey, that's okay, because this also works without it. This just kind of speeds up the process. And now I've got some soil in here in a Dixie cup that I'm going to kind of cut away 2 of the corners on the bottom, because you want to have really good drainage. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to cut the bottom here. So now that water, as I'm watering it, can kind of drain out, because you don't want to have puddling on your hydrangea. And I'm going to poke a little hole in here with my fancy tools, my little big pen. And I'm going to wind up putting that right inside the soil. And I'm going to firm it down a bit. And now it's good to go. I'm going to add a little bit of water just to keep it happy. And that's the story. So what I would do now is I would put this, like I said, I told some of you guys last week, you're just going to kind of put it in a spot that doesn't have direct sunlight, but yet it's sunny, because you don't want to fry the plant. But what happened was I didn't keep up with the watering, and I should have. And then I saw that a lot of gardeners are doing this, and this is a terrific tip. They are either putting their cuttings underneath, this is like a Coke bottle, like the big giant Coke bottles. They're kind of cutting this part of it, and they're just putting it inside. Oops. I need a small cutting for this one. And they're kind of making their own makeshift little greenhouse. So this guy should be a little bit taller here. I'm going to do a smaller one to show you. But another way to make your greenhouse is this. Hold on. Need some space here. I need my flower table in my workshop. Let's see. Scooch you over. So I've got this plastic bin, and I thought this would make a terrific greenhouse until I realized that the top isn't clear. So I was like, wow, that's probably not going to work. So Sheldon came up with the idea. He said, you know what? If you're going to put your plants in here, and the idea was this. I've seen some of you snazzy gardeners do this before. You put it inside here, and then you cover it. But since that bin that I had was like clear, like it wasn't, like it was white, it wasn't clear, Sheldon said, why don't you use just like plastic bag. So that's what I'm going to try doing now. So I've got this cutting because it's super tall, and I'm going to put it in that bin. And I'm just going to cover it. And that's it. So now I've got my hydrangea cutting in this little makeshift greenhouse. And I'm going to make sure I put it in sunlight, not direct sunlight. And then this is going to act as a great way to kind of keep that moisture inside and to kind of keep some of that heat inside and to help it to grow. And I'll come in here, I'll check to make sure that the plant's nice and moist. I might give it like a little spritz with like a little water to keep it nice and, like once again, you don't want it to dehydrate. So let's try this trick again with the smaller one because the top of that root was a little funky because of that whole boondoggle that I had with this thing. Let's see. Oh, Rosie said, and this is important too, I'm glad you said that, when you're doing the water method, you have to make sure that you change the water very often because bacteria loves to grow in water. So just get ready. You don't want that water to get filmy. You don't want that bacteria to grow because that's going to like just debunk everything. So make sure that you change the water often. Okay, let's see. So let's take a look at another cutting here. All right, this guy's got very wimpy leaves, so I'm not going to use him. So when I cut him yesterday, he was looking good, but he's not looking good now. So don't use any kind of cuttings that are wilted. And make sure that you do the cuttings in morning because morning time is best. That plant's kind of, hydrated. It's feeling good. And if you know that you're going to be doing a cutting, you might want to give your plant like a shot of water the day before or like earlier in the day. And so let's take a look at who else is in here. All right, this is a great guy. All right, this guy's gonna make me happy. So here's a better example because this guy is like perfect. He hasn't bloomed. And so what I'm gonna do is just cut off some of these top leaves because you don't want all these leaves. All that water is gonna try to go up and hydrate the leaves and the plant's gonna be focused on that. And you don't want it to focus on that. You want the plant to focus on these little nodes down here and shooting off some roots from the bottom. So I'm going to cut off all the leaves except for the ones up here, like the top two. Oh, I take it back. I need that node because this guy got whacked. Oh my gosh. Okay, so. All right, let me show you what I just did here. So I want to hold on to these two nodes right here. So that's where once again, that growth hormone is going to come from. So that's why I did the little snip. Like right below those two leaves, but I don't actually need the leaves. I just needed these little leaf nodes. So now I've got my two leaf nodes, these little guys. The growth hormones are going to start working from them. And I've got two beautiful leaves to help me with photosynthesis. But once again, it's just the leaves are too big. So we're going to snip them in half so that you still got some green, but you don't have too much green. All right, this guy's much better to work with. And I gave that a snip there. So now this guy is perfect, okay? You've got your little half leaves. You've got your nodes right there. And I'm gonna dip this guy in some honey. Oop, can you see that? There's honey down here. A little bit of honey. And then I'm going to put this guy, once again, in soil. Make sure, guys, that the soil that you use doesn't have a lot of fertilizer in it because new rootings do not like fertilizer. And this is just like a little annual pack that I had. It's got the drainage on the bottom. I'm just kind of recycling it. And I poked a little hole, and I'm putting this right in that little hole that I just made. Boop. Okay, there you go. So now he's nice and tucked in. I'm going to give him a quick little shot of water, and that excess is going to drain out. And this guy, he might be a better candidate for that Coke bottle. Let's take a look at that. Where's my Coke bottle go? Here you are. Oh, you know what? This isn't going to fit over the Coke bottle. Anyway, I think I'm going to wind up putting this guy in my little greenhouse. So let's see if he fits in here. Okay, he's going to be a good fit for him here. So I've got this guy. He's going in the greenhouse. The other guy's in the greenhouse. I'm going to cover them up. And then I'm going to hold it up for you to see. So now I've got my two in the greenhouse. And there you go. Okay, so those were just some more methods that I came up with. Hey guys, hey Truth of the Matter, thanks for checking in. Bren, you're welcome. And thank you so much guys for watching. This was like a crazy one. This thing really tripped me up, but I do have to tell you, I do love this Gitchamagoo. Let me show you what this is. I just bought this. I forget where I bought it. I don't know. It's got this cute little like chicken wire on the top. So it's like a mason jar. I just bought the covers. And this is great when you have like, well, usually it's great when you have the cuttings and you don't have these big giant nodes. So this guy actually lifted up really easy. So this was like what I thought was going to happen before. So once again, you have these here, but this is kind of cute. So sometimes you could just buy like mason jar covers. This is actually better for herbs. It's probably not the best thing for cuttings, but when I have like little herbs, I'll kind of use that. So, so that's the story with some of the, with some of the propagating techniques. And so I think that the propagating technique that I like most, though, is the one where you just take your hydrangeas that have kind of drooped to the ground and they're laying in the dirt. And I made a whole video on that one showing you exactly step-by-step how to do it. But in case you haven't seen it, I'm going to go over that real quick right now. And this is like by far the easiest way to do it. So once your hydrangea has kind of drooped over to the ground and it's like laying there, especially some of the hydrangeas like Annabelle's that have those super, super giant, like heavy heads, they'll wind up drooping to the ground and they're still attached to the plant. You can just take a little scratching, like you could take like your nail and you kind of scratch off either with your nail, or you could do this like with a knife and you scratch away part of like that bark. And then you can just kind of lay it down in the soil. You kind of dig a piece of soil, you'll cut off the flower head. Once again, you don't want the plant to have to worry about supporting that flower head. And you'll just droop it over into the soil and you'll bury it with like some more soil and you put a rock on top. And that's it. And then after like 4 to 6 weeks, it starts to grow stems and you can leave it attached to the plant, kind of separate it from the mother plant with like a spade and just let it be for like a while more because it needs to get, like pretty much like used to being on its own away from the mama plant. And you can even like put like a little garden staple to keep it in place, anything to kind of keep that little tiny, spot secured to the dirt. And those roots are going to start growing naturally. This is why like a lot of hydrangeas will self-propagate on their own. So if you take a look underneath some of your hydrangea plants, I can almost guarantee if they're like pretty old, you're going to see a whole bunch of like little mini baby hydrangea plants that have kind of sprouted up all around it. And you're probably just thinking like I used to think, oh, this is just my, my regular plant. And, oh, it's just doing really well. You actually have like all these little mini plants that are like all around it. And those are great to dig up and you can either gift them or, you can, move them to other places in your garden. So self-propagation is terrific too, if you can see how the plant actually did it. So those are all like different propagating techniques for hydrangeas. And let me see what's going on from you guys. Oh, thank you. Oh, Ginger, nice. Oh, Ginger Kelly, you have the same last name as my first name. Oh, that's great. Oh, you're very welcome. So guys, I want to give a shout out to Alan. Alan provided today's cup of caffeine. If you guys are enjoying my flower tips, you can check out my the page beneath is like in descriptions below. So there's like a supporters page you can go check out. And I've got a brand new online course coming out. I'm so excited. It's coming out on August 5th. And it's going to show you how to grow your own fresh cut flower garden and how to arrange the flowers that you cut from your garden. So that's going to come out and it's going to be like a great gifting idea too for people that you might want to give like Christmas or Hanukkah or Mother's Day. So look for that. If you want to get on the mailing list for when that information comes out, please take a look in descriptions below. I have a PDF file that I made for you guys and it's called 4 must-have flowers for your garden. So once you sign up for that email list, you're going to be on all the email lists that will, it's just like the one, I try not to send too much stuff out, maybe like once a month, and it will let you know when that there's 3 online courses will be available in August. So let's take a quick sip of coffee here and I can try to tackle some of your questions. Thanks for being patient today. That was like a little bit of a white knuckler, right? What was that? Eileen from Long Island. Nice to see you, Eileen. Out of all these methods, what's the quickest way? Excellent question. My favorite method is the one where you just take that stem and you bend it, the ones that are closest to the ground, and you do that little scratching and you put it in the dirt. And actually another thing you could do is before you put that little scratching in the dirt, you can actually put some rooting hormone underneath that little wound that you made. So that's by far for me the easiest method. It's almost like a no-brainer. It's so simple. So you're going to have this, coming off the plant. You gave it that little scrape that I showed you before. And you can make the scrape pretty long. It doesn't have to be by any means short. I mean, the longer the better, because it's going to just give you like more roots. And once you do that scraping, especially when you do it like beneath that leaf node, I would add some rooting hormone. So I would take like a little bit of cinnamon, and I would dabble some cinnamon on it, or I would dip that in honey, or I would dip that in that rooting hormone. And then once you dipped it in that rooting hormone, you just make sure that you bend it so that it's, in the ground, and you put the dirt on top of it, you put the rock on top of that. And then, you make sure that it has, like a little bit of water. And then usually it's protected by the mother plant. So it's protected from that direct sun, yet it's probably in sunlight because the regular plant is flourishing, it's growing because it just had that fresh stem. And that is by far for me the easiest way to propagate hydrangeas. I have, I guess I'm not sure if you guys saw like the thumbnail for this YouTube video. I've got this giant row of Annabelle hydrangea. I think I planted, maybe, I don't know, say like 10 or 12 about 15 years ago. And I think I've got like 30, 35 plants right now. And they are all self-propagated. They all did that all by themselves. And that's literally the easiest way to do it. So if you want like a clearer step-by-step on that exact method, outside, seeing how I did it like in the garden, it's on it's on this playlist. So I have a hydrangea playlist where I made you guys I think there's like 18 videos. So check that out. It was on one of my lives. And I think it's just called like how to propagate your hydrangea. So that is by far the easiest way, because you know what? It's nature's way. Like I've got this Gijamugu makeshift greenhouse. I've got a Coke bottle here. I mean, the other way is 100% nature, and clearly it works better than these little Gijamugu things that I just showed you. So try that out. Let me know what you guys think. Let's see who else has a question here. Can you leave the greenhouse in the shade outside? Oh, that's interesting. So the truth of the matter is, can you leave the greenhouse in the shade outside with the top slightly open? I don't see why not. Like, this is the first time I'm using the greenhouse too. So I would imagine that you could, but I think the idea behind the greenhouse is to kind of keep that moisture kind of inside. So that might defeat the purpose if like you lift it off. But I think I'm going to set up 2 little greenhouses. I mean, I love like experimenting with these. So I'm going to do one where the top stays on all the time, besides when I'm just checking to see if it's moist. And the other one, I think I'll do like 50% with the top on, because of your question, truth of the matter, and 50% of the time with the top off. And I'll report back to you guys. I love learning alongside with you, and I love learning from you. So that was a great question. Let's see what else is going on here. Okay, so Ezekiel, I said your name right. As long as it has a little ventilation, it should be good. So that's probably really key. So I think it's really important then. I've seen other people though, where they just seem to snap on those, like little container things. And I was the same way. I was kind of like, how is this plant getting air? But, some of these, you watch these YouTube videos and you're not sure exactly how it all works. But some of them, they just snapped it on. But I don't know. I would kind of think that it would kind of need more airflow also. That's interesting. I'm going to have to report back and let you know how this works. One of them, though, I will just keep snapped in without the ventilation, and we'll see if that's anything big. So let's see. How else can I help you guys? Brent said, cute greenhouse, do you keep that indoors or outside? Okay, so I'm assuming the cuttings are in the soil don't like sun. Yeah, so they don't like it too hot. I think that you need to at least have your greenhouse in sunlight, like near, like someplace that's sunny in the house. So you don't want to have the direct sunlight, but you want to make sure that it does have like a sun source, because that's super important. But I also, I think as long as your temperatures are between maybe 60 and 80 degrees, I think it's okay to leave it outside also, but maybe in some dappled sunlight, because I would imagine that would be your best bet. So I think that that's kind of the way to go. And Flower Tribe, let us know, what do you think? Like, what have you guys done? What works? What has worked for you guys? Do you do the dappled sunlight? Are they better off inside? I'm going to report back to let you know what worked for these guys. And so, all right, guys. So I think that was all that I wanted to share with you today. I try to give you guys as much value as I can. And I did a garden tour yesterday showing you some of the crepe myrtle trees in our backyard. And It's funny, my son was asking me about landscaping ideas for his house. So I sent him over like a boatload of like pictures and ideas. And I'm realizing that a lot of you have bought new houses this year. So congratulations to all of you new homeowners. And I'm going to try to start giving you guys more landscaping tips. So a quick landscaping tip just that I was giving Ryan yesterday was I love using crepe myrtle as a big burst of color in like your background. And I love doing crepe myrtle with hydrangeas beneath it. And so that's like just a super easy plant to grow. It's super low maintenance. And the other tip that I gave him that I absolutely love, and I'm going to try to put this, I will put this because I want you guys to see this really badly. I'm going to put this on my Cranbury Fields Instagram right after I get off this live because I really want you guys to see this. I saw this in like a park in Ocean Grove, New Jersey, and they have giant rows of Sharons, you know, dotting this beautiful, like, you know, little space, this public area. And they prune these rows of Sharons into a tree form, which isn't that hard to do. You know, you just make sure that you prune it, I think, gradually every fall until you have kind of more like a tree shape. And so you've got the rows of Sharon like here. And then underneath it, they've got these magnificent, bright pink hydrangeas. And they were in an arc. It looked like something from like hydrangea heaven. It was just this beautiful burst of like pink rose of Sharon in a tree, and then this giant foam wave of pink hydrangeas around the base. It was really like I think I dreamt about it last night. So I will put a picture, and I also took a video of that on my Cranbury Fields Instagram today. And the Cranbury Fields is spelled Cranbury, like my town. So Cranbury Fields, and there's a link below if you want to, you know, hop on over there. So check that out. I want to show you that, and I'm going to start giving you guys more landscaping tips. And let me know what else you guys want me to cover. I know that hydrangeas are like my favorite thing to talk about in the world, but let me know what else is going on in your gardens that you'd like more help with, more tips. And also know that you can ask the Flower Tribe questions on our Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group. So that's always a great place to hop on over and get some questions answered. So, oh, Rosie said she forgot to tell us about hydrogen peroxide. Rosie, what is this? It is also helpful, but the 3% type is also helpful by adding a small amount to increase the oxygen in the water. All right, Rosie, if you would like, I would love to send you some of my sunflower seeds because you just taught me like 3 new tips today on my live video. I mean, that's like crazy. So I appreciate that. That's insane. If you can direct message me or go to Kelly Lehman at cranburyfields.com. And if you would like some of my sunflower seeds, I would love to send them to you. I really appreciate you helping out the Flower Tribe. So that's terrific. So guys, Rosie's comments are in the chat, and I'm going to keep this on a replay so you guys can come back to this video and see some of the great tips we talked about today and some of the tips that Rosie gave us. So that was great. So let me just see this one more time. Hydrogen peroxide, 3%, and you add it to the water to increase the oxygen level. Wow. Okay. Wow. Amazing. All right. So I guess that's it for today, guys. And thank you for joining me. And thank you for sticking through the whole boondoggle before. But I think we figured it out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, and Lucy's here floating around the house somewhere. Bye.